My best friend misses my boyfriend. The boyfriend scolded her in front of her classmates. You know 3 things. It really disgusts me. How can I like you? But when my boyfriend and I received the college admission letter, my best friend jumped off the building. The boyfriend ran to the scene like crazy and hugged her and cried bitterly. I have already been admitted to the same university as you? What else do you want? From then on, my boyfriend went crazy and tortured me in various ways. I couldn't stand it and finally cut my wrist and cut myself. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to my senior year of high school. This time, I won't repeat the same mistake again. 1. My body trembled. The gentle voice in my ear was patiently talking about the questions. I looked up and saw that there were still math questions on the blackboard that had not been erased, and books were stacked on the desk in the classroom. I turned my head to look at Su Kenyong in school uniform. The sun shone on him, which was clean and dazzling. His academic performance is very good, and he is recognized as a school student in everyone's eyes. Sia, have you listened to my lecture carefully? Seeing that I was distracted, he raised his hand and waved in front of me in a soft and gentle voice. When I came to my senses, I blinked. If I remember correctly, my best friend Lee Siren would appear immediately, silently counting down 3 times in my heart. As a result, Lee Siren stood at the door of the classroom with a math question book in his arms, tied in a low ponytail, and also wearing a school uniform, but he looked pitifully. Lee Siren entered the classroom and walked to us. He looked at Su Kenyong pitifully and begged in a low voice, "The midterm exam is coming soon. Can I review with you?" Su Kenyong snorted disdainfully. "Didn't you see that I was reviewing with Sia? Is it interesting for you to cross between us?" His tone was disdainful, but I saw a trace of heartache flashing under his indifferent eyes. In such a short second, it will disappear in an instant. The same scene was staged in front of me, but I didn't notice it in my last life. Lee Siren, my best friend, has been thinking about my boyfriend. In her last life, the reason for the breakup was that I knew the dirty thoughts in her heart. After that, she simply stopped pretending and began to pursue Su Kenyong openly, and finally the whole grade knew about it. It is taboo for high school students to fall in love early, not to mention such a blatant pursuit. Of course, I am very angry, but Lee Siren still does his own thing and haunts Su Kenyong. After the evening self-study in the last life, he pulled me to the playground, and then held me in his arms to comfort me. "My CC, don't be angry. It's all Lee Siren's wishful thinking. I have nothing with her, and you are the only one in my heart. What's more, she is still your former best friend. She even misses her best friend's boyfriend. She is definitely not a good girl. My CC is the best girl in the world. If you leave me, how can I live?" That's how he comforted me and inadvertently PU'd me to make me believe him. Later, the teachers gave up on Lee Siren, and she completely let go of herself. Su Kenyong even said coldly in front of many classmates at the school gate, "Lee Siren, Shi-Yuesher and I are going to be admitted to the same university. If you don't study, don't affect us. We are different from you, and you can't be my girlfriend." I'm still too naive to think that the love of youth can last for a long time, but it's not. Until the moment we got the admission letter, it was also the day when Lee Siren cut his wrist and committed suicide. Su Kenyong, who got the news, ran to her house like crazy. Lee Siren's face was already pale and bloodless, and the blood on his wrist was dry. Su Kenyong, who saw this scene, broke down. He came forward to hug her crazily and roared at me. "We have all been admitted to the same university. I promised to stay by your side. Do you still want to harm her? Why? She is not as crazy as before because she didn't get into college for me, and for the sake of success for us. Yang Xie, I hate you. I hate you, too." It was the first time I saw Su Kenyong so crazy, and it was also the first time I roared at me hysterically. I was afraid of his appearance. I didn't expect that he would take me to another room in the next second and bully me. Of course, my strength was not as strong as his angry one. He vented all the anger in his heart on me, and not only that, but also forcibly took photos to threaten me. I was so scared that I kept explaining that Lee Siren's suicide had nothing to do with me, but he didn't believe me and tortured me to half stupid. I didn't dare to resist at all, because each resistance was exchanged for more serious bullying and more photos, and threatened me to expose these photos on the internet if I disobedient. Fame is too important for girls. In the internet era, I couldn't stand such torture at all. When I was 22 years old, I finally couldn't stand the torture, and then cut off my wrist and cut myself. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn in high school. After I broke up with Lee Siren, she took the initiative to ask Su Kenyong math questions. Although Su Kenyong's expression is exactly the same as the words of refusal, I have already seen Su Kenyong's heart clearly. Of course, I will not be led by him in this life. "If you have any questions, ask the teacher." "I'm not a teacher," Su Kenyong said impatiently. "I've said that to you. What are you still doing here? You still don't leave. Do you want shame?" He added another sentence. Lee Siren was full of tears, and I was heartbroken for her delicate appearance. Not to mention Su Kanyang. I saw that Su Kanyang was talking again, so I took the lead in saying, "Everyone is a classmate. In this case, you can sit down and listen to it together." When Su Kanyang and Lee Siren heard this, they were stunned. Neither of them expected that I would agree. Lee Siren quickly sat in front of him as if he was afraid that I would repent, and then he smiled obediently with a cold face. At this moment, there are only 3 of us in the classroom after school, but the atmosphere between Su Kanyang and Lee Siren is ambiguous and restrained. Su Kanyang began to give a lecture. The known function f, x, equals x plus 1, ln x, a, x, 1. When a equals 4, find the tangential equation of the curve y equals f, x, at 1, f, 1. The definition domain of f, x, is 0 plus infinity. When a equals 4, f, x, sad face x plus 1, ln x, 4, xl, f, x, equals ln x plus 3, xf. 1 equals dash 2, f, l, equals 0. Curve y equals. I promised to get married. Why don't you let her go? After rebirth, I will help them lock them up forever. 39103, inch the tangent equation of f, x, at l, f1. Is 2x plus y minus 2 is equal to 0. Sia. Do you understand? Su Kanyang asked me gently and in a whisper. I forced myself to hold back my disgust for him, then squeezed out a fake smile and nodded. I understand. Kanyang, I didn't understand. Can you tell me again? Lee Siren scratched his hair, pouted his mouth, and said puzzledly. Su Kanyang frowned and asked impatiently, "You don't understand such a simple question. Are you a pig?" So, after Su Kanyang told her again, Lee Siren smiled and said, "I understand. Thank you, Kanyang. Let's continue to the next question. It's ridiculous that I saw each other's eyebrows just now. I didn't notice it at all before. You are so stupid. Won't you make me explain the next question 3 times? It looks like cursing, but it is full of pampering. Disgusting. It's really disgusting." I really couldn't stay for a second and said, "I just know the next question. You tell me first. My stomach hurts a little and I have to go to the toilet. Do you want me to go with you?" Su Kanyang took my hand and asked. I silently withdrew my hand and said, "No, I'm going to the women's bathroom." 3. As soon as I walked out of the classroom door, I bumped into my little sister Shin Ian. In the last life, Shin Ian had been silently guarding me until I died, and she was also asking for justice for me. I was about to speak when he pulled me aside and asked in a low voice, "Sister, don't you know that Lee Siren misses your boyfriend? Do you still let them get along alone?" I was stunned, and my tone was still a little choked. "I know." I came to the back door and saw Lee Siren get up and walk to Su Kanyang from the small glass, smiling charmingly at her. "Bitch, seduce me in front of my girlfriend." Su Kanyang's voice was a little playful. Lee Siren directly put his hands on the back of his head. "So do you like this kind of stimulation?" Su Kanyang didn't answer immediately, as if he was thinking. After a while, he answered in a low voice, "I like it." As soon as his words fell, Lee Siren kissed him directly. My eyes were hurt. Just when they were in high spirits, it was dark in front of me, and Shun Ian's voice came to my ear. "Don't look." The next second, he was taken away. At this time in my last life, I was still stupidly immersed in love. Seeing this life with my own eyes, I still felt a little uncomfortable in my heart. I stopped and turned to look at Shin Ian. Why should I leave? After saying that, I turned back and walked to the back door. I saw that they were still forgetting my kiss. I was about to take out my mobile phone, but Shun Ian, who came, accidentally hit me and accidentally touched the door. At the same time as the door was opened, I quickly pulled Shin Ian to squat on the ground. They were sitting, coupled with a desk, just blocked us. "Are you afraid?" Lee Siren made a sweet voice, full of provocation, and then let out a low gasp. I took out my mobile phone, turned on the video, and then carefully raised it high to shoot. "I know Sia best. How can she be silent if she comes back? The back door is blown open by the wind, and don't you think it's more exciting to open a crack?" After saying that, the two of them were close together again, and it was difficult to separate. They were so immersed in each other's world that they didn't even notice that all this was recorded by me. After shooting for about 2 minutes, I took back my mobile phone, and then quietly left the classroom with Shin Ian and came to the other end of the corridor. "Just pretend you didn't see this matter." I looked at him seriously and said. Shun Ian stared wide-eyed incredulously and tried to restrain his excitement. "Shiyu, Su Kanyang is doing something wrong to you. You have seen it with your own eyes. Do you want to pretend that nothing happened? I've already said that Su Kanyang is unreliable. As a result, Sia, please be sober. Okay?" I smiled faintly. "I know, Ian, don't worry. I won't like her anymore. I will break up with him, but now is not the time. He looked at me in disbelief and raised his eyebrows. Really? I nodded and said, yes, Shinian. Believe me, you go back first. He still said uneasy, Sia, don't do anything stupid. It's not worth it for this scumbag. I smiled at him. Don't worry, I won't. When I returned to the classroom, the two of them returned to the appearance when I left, so I walked over with a smile and sat beside Su Kanyang and asked, which question did you talk about? Su Kanyang asked, why did you take so long to come back? I thought to myself, of course, I will leave you a separate space to get along with each other. Otherwise, how could I take a picture of your unknown and friendly side? But he said unhappily, oh, I don't know what I ate today. I'm a little upset. It's been a long time. Su Kanyang, who heard my answer, was secretly relieved. It's not too early, Sia. I'll take you home. Su Kanyang began to clean up the books on the desk and didn't give me a chance to refute. Then let's go first. Lee Siren put away his things and left with his school bag. As soon as he left the school, Su Kanyang's mobile phone rang. After he took out the phone and connected it, he frowned and said impatiently, I'm not free now. Are you going to find someone else? Oh, I got it. Then hang up the phone. I pretended to care and asked, what happened? Su Kanyang looked at me with an apologetic face. I'm sorry, Sia. I have something to do now. My cousin called me to tell me that she was bullied by her classmates and asked me to go. So I can't take you home. Do you need me to go with you? I asked on purpose with a worried face. He seemed to have guessed that I would answer like this for a long time, and he had long thought about dealing with my answer. I don't know the situation on the other side yet. My cousin is pretentious. If you are injured in danger, I will be heartbroken. In the last life, I understood the truth of moderation. If it were before, I would have made a fuss to go together, but in this life I won't. I nodded pretending reluctantly and said, then go away and be careful when something happens. After saying that, I sent him leave until his back disappeared. I couldn't help snorting coldly. The person who called just now was not her cousin. Instead, Lee Siren. You don't need to think about me to know what they did. The next day, I came to school and sat down. I saw Su Kanyang and Lee Siren coming from the balcony of the classroom. Well, it's interesting. Su Kanyang habitually looked at the class teacher and looked at me, which was unexpected and quickly kept a distance from Lee Siren. I ignored it and turned around and went into the classroom. In less than 2 minutes, I saw Su Kanyang gasping into the classroom, and I knew that he was running up. He was my desk mate and quickly came to explain to me, Sia, don't get me wrong. That I just said, faintly. He had never seen my expression indifferent, but explained more anxiously. I met Lee Siren at the school gate. He came to say hello to me, but I didn't care. But she kept sticking to me like a dog's skin plaster. If she disturbs us again, I will definitely say directly that Sia is the best, and you will always be the only one in my heart. A man's mouth is a deceptive ghost. How did he tell these lies and his face didn't beat? I deliberately. He looked at him aggrievedly and nodded reluctantly, showing a million unhappy looks on his face that I didn't say anything to satisfy his little thoughts. Well, of course I believe you. 5. Since that day, Su Kanyang has been putting off our after-school lectures with various things. It's Friday, and he has found a thing to tell me again. Of course, I have agreed. It has been 3 days in a row. His heart may have been on Lee Siren for a long time, otherwise how could he not doubt me at all for agreeing? As soon as the school bell rang, he left at the fastest speed with his school bag, and I packed up my things slowly. When I walked out of the classroom, I met Shinian. Shinian looked at me with a complicated expression, and stopped talking a few times. If you want to ask anything, just say it directly, I said. He took out his mobile phone and opened a photo and handed it to me, saying, this is what I accidentally took when I went to my relative's house yesterday. These two people are also very cautious about going so far away. The photo is the picture of Su Kanyang and Lee Siren walking into the Express Hotel hand in hand. The hellish torture of my last life trained my strong heart in this life. After seeing this, there was no trace of sadness. I couldn't help laughing. It's really hard for them. Sia, I don't know what you want to do. But if you still love him, please think about it carefully, although you don't like to hear my words. Ian, we grew up together. How can I not know your heart? I stopped and turned my head to look at him seriously. I love to hear what you say. Of course, he understood my vague feelings. His eyes lit up and he was a little happy. It's just that I can't wait until I'm single again. I quickly added that even if I was with him, I should be with him openly and honestly. Shinian was so happy that she was at a loss and nodded quickly. Good. Of course it's good. Let's go. Let's go home together. I think he looks really cute. Of course I wouldn't refuse, so I nodded and left the school. There were many snack stalls outside. Iami's stomach also growled in time. The teenager next to me must have heard it. I smiled awkwardly at him. Shinian took me to my favorite spicy hot pot stall, ordered my favorite dishes, went to buy milk tea, and personally inserted a straw for me and handed it to me. When the spicy hot pot was cooked, it would also be brought to me in person. I just sat on the stool and waited for him to hand me the chopsticks to start eating. Why didn't I find his good in my last life? Choose to be with Su Kanyang, the scumbag. I ate spicy hot pot silently. Shin Ian next to him suddenly said, "Sia, you have changed." I was stunned and looked up at him. Seeing his serious face, I smiled and said, "Why has it changed?" He looked at me seriously and frowned slightly. "I don't know. I always feel like I've suddenly changed." I continued to joke. "If it really changes, will you care?" Shin Ian did not answer me immediately, but took out a tissue and wiped the corners of my mouth. His eyes were affectionate, and his gentle voice was a little hoarse. "No matter what you become, in my heart, you are Yang Sia, the unique Yang Sia." When I heard this, I was very moved. "Thank you, Shin Ian. Whether in your previous life or in this life, you have always been with me without regret and without asking for anything in return. Thank God for letting me live a new life. I let you down in my last life, and I will never let you down in this life." 6. According to the timeline of the previous life, the head teacher will come to me and select me to sign up for the national competition. If I can get the first place in this competition, I can bail Qingbei. How many people dreamed and pursued in Qingbei University? This opportunity was really hard to come by. At that time, I shared it with Su Kanyang, but I didn't expect Su Kanyang to brainwash me. "Sia, of course I hope you can be admitted to Qingbei, but my grades will definitely not be admitted. When we are separated, I can't be with you. What if you meet a bad guy? If you are sick, what if there is no one around to take care of you? Sia, in fact, it's the same school. Can you really bear to leave me?" He looked at me with tears in his eyes and affection, which was very pitiful. So I made a stupid decision at that time, that is, to find the head teacher and give up the opportunity. I still remember that the head teacher looked at me very disappointedly and sighed again and again. "Yang Sia, what do you want me to say to you? This is a rare opportunity. You are obviously very hopeful, but you gave up? Don't think I don't know what you are thinking. Can love be eaten as food? When you go to Qingbei, you will know that there are so many men. Don't be stopped by the people in front of you. If he really likes you, he won't stop you from running for a better future." Although I fell in love early, my grades were very good. So the head teacher opened one eye and closed one eye, but I felt that the head teacher was beating the Mandarin duck with a stick and stomped his feet. "Teacher, you don't understand. Now that I think about it, it's ridiculous. Yang Sia, follow me to the office." After the head teacher finished, he said to me. I nodded and went back to the office with him. The head teacher looked at me seriously like in the previous life. "The school chose you to participate in a competition. All right, I promise." I was very excited to agree. I didn't go to the game in my last life. I don't know what will happen after I go in this life. The head teacher was a little surprised and quickly nodded happily. "Good. But teacher, I have a small request." Therefore, I look at the head teacher in a difficult way. When the head teacher saw my expression, he thought it was a difficult thing. The smile on his face stiffened and he asked seriously, "You speak first. I don't want anyone to know that I participated in this competition. Okay? Teacher." I lowered my voice in a pleading tone. When the head teacher heard that it was this request, he couldn't help laughing. "What did I think it was? That's it. Don't worry. The teacher promised you." I nodded heavily and smiled happily. Then I left the office and returned to the classroom. As soon as I sat down, Su Kanyang came up. "Sia, what is the head teacher looking for you for?" Su Kanyang asked tentatively. I deliberately looked sad and depressed and said unhappily, "The head teacher said that my study has regressed and asked me to pay more attention." Su Kanyang raised his eyebrows in disbelief. "Really?" I was angry. "You don't believe me? It's not you. During this period, I have something to do, which makes me worry about you all day long. What do you deal with every day?" "So busy." Su Kanyang, who was asked by me, was very guilty and did not dare to look at me directly. He quickly tidied up the desk. "The things in the family are about to be sorted out." 7. Later, the head teacher made it public that I couldn't come to school for a long time on the grounds that I was sick, and told the university the news. Su Kanyang called. "Sia, the head teacher said you were sick? Didn't it be fine last Friday? How are you?" "I'm coming to see you." I coughed urgently and said in a weak tone, "It seems that I have the flu. It's contagious. Don't come here, lest you get infected. Wait for me to come back at school." I know that Su Kanyang pretends to care, but he actually wants to take advantage of this time to be with Lee Siren. Shin Ian, who was beside me, quickly signaled me the time. "I just took the medicine and want to sleep. I won't talk about it for now. Study hard." I quickly finished speaking and hung up the phone. "It's so dangerous." Yes, Shin Ian also wants to participate in the competition, but he is not the same as me, but he is in the same place. We are on the plane right now, and the plane is about to take off. After arriving in Beijing, we went to Tiananmen Square together, watched the flag raising together, toured the Forbidden City together, and prepared for the competition together. Success never disappoints people who work hard. He won the first place in his competition, and I won the second place in my competition. Only the two of us in the school signed up for the competition and both won the first place. There is no doubt that we are fighting for the glory of the school. The school is very happy and also held a school conference to praise us fiercely. On the way back, Su Kenyang called me. Sia, you disappeared for nearly half a month without telling me. You didn't have the flu at all but went to the competition, did you? As soon as it was connected, Su Kenyang's angry questioning came. Now that he knows it, I don't need to hide it. I'm sorry. This is the school's arrangement, and the head teacher reminded me again and again not to tell anyone. How can I be anyone? I'm your boyfriend. Listen, he was aggrieved like a little daughter-in-law, and even cried. Sia, don't you love me? Yes. I don't love you anymore. But now is not the time to tell him. I comforted perfunctorily. Oh, don't be so sensitive. If I didn't love you, I would have broken up with you long ago. Well, I won't tell you. The plane is about to take off. After saying that, I hung up the phone. My flight of 2.5 hours was enough to make him think nonsense. The next day, when I returned to the classroom, my classmates surrounded me directly. Sia, you're back. I really envy you. I've sent you to Qingbei. Sia, you are a celebrity in our school now. Yesterday, the principal praised you and Shinian for a while. If only I could be praised like this in my life. Shiyu, let me tell you, during this period, I found that Li Siren has been walking very close to your family Su Kenyang. You should be more careful. You have been really dug into the wall, but it's okay. There are many handsome men in Qingbei. Sia, are you back? At this time, a voice suddenly came from a grievance, which seemed out of perguity. I said, softly and walked to my seat. Su Kenyang followed me, opened his school bag, took out a handful of flowers from it and handed it to me. He squeezed out a sad smile on the corners of his mouth and whispered, Sia, congratulations on winning the second place in the competition. I didn't get flowers and asked, what's wrong with you and Li Siren? Su Kenyang sat in the chair in a hurry and explained in a low voice, it's all Li Siren who pesters me, Shiyu. I've told you before that Li Siren has a bad heart, but you are soft-hearted again and again. She seduced me while you were not at school, but I resisted the temptation. Sia, my heart, don't you know? I booked a restaurant outside today. Shall we have dinner together? Speaking of which, we haven't had dinner together for a long time. He looked at me affectionately and winked at me. I felt sick in my heart, and then I took his flowers and smiled. Good! Then, I took a picture of the flowers and said, with the supporting text, my boy, a flower exclusively for me. This copy was deliberately stimulated by Li Siren at that time. During the rush hour of school, as soon as we left the school, we saw Li Siren coming to us like crazy, ignoring the crowd around us and roaring. Su Kenyang, you promised me to break up with Yang Sia. Why did you make a mistake? Su Kenyang, you lied to me. You liar. Of course, the students stopped and were willing to eat this big melon. Su Kenyang's face darkened, and Li Siren's behavior was beyond his expectation, which immediately welcomed the discussion of others. It seems that what I said today has severely stimulated Li Siren. I immediately asked angrily, Su Kenyang, what's going on? Su Kenyang ignored Li Siren, but explained to me anxiously, Shiyu, it's her wishful thinking. She can do anything to break us apart. So, he looked at Li Siren again and asked angrily, Li Siren, what on earth do you want to do? In order to break up me and Sia, what lies can you make up? Li Siren opened his eyes wide incredulously and snorted coldly. Su Kenyang, that's not what you said to me when you were with me. You said that Yang Sia pretended to be reserved and didn't even want to give you anything. It's better for me. I really love you. When these words of destruction of the three views were said, people around him were immediately excited. Sia, he is slandering me. Can you show any evidence? Su Kenyang asked coldly. There was no panic on Li Siren's face, but calmly took out his mobile phone, followed by an audio. Yang Siwei? Except for touching her hands and mouth, I can't touch anything else. In this era, she has been pretending to be a hot girl in front of me. The baby is still good. You can make me so happy. I know that I am very happy to be with you, which is much better than Yang Sia. Su Kenyang, who heard the recording, was already dark and ugly. He looked at her viciously. How can you record on my back? After saying that, he wanted to hit her. Li Siren didn't have a trace of fear, but raised his head. Su Kenyang, let me tell you, I'm pregnant with your child. You're not afraid that you will be beaten by one corpse. The sentence stopped Su Kenyang. After being stunned for a long time, he opened his eyes indisbelievably. What did you say? Are you pregnant with my child? Li Siren looked at me proudly and said provocatively, Yang Sia, I once told you that I must get what I like. Now I'm pregnant with your boyfriend's child. I said indifferently, it's okay. I'm sending you now. 9. Lee Siren is an orphan. She was bullied in junior high school, and then I came forward to protect her, so we became best friends. It's just that she lost her parents' education and walked more and more crooked on the road of growth, and finally regarded me as an enemy. Sia, what do you mean by this? Su Kanyang pulled me, who wanted to leave, and asked. I looked at him coldly and said word by word, I'll break up with you. He panicked and kept shaking his head. No, I don't want to break up. Sia, I was wrong. It was Lee Siren who seduced me. I'm Sia who loves you. He held my hand tightly and didn't let go, even with great strength, which hurt me. At this time, Shin Ian squeezed in, forcibly separated us, and protected me behind. Don't you understand human speech? Sia has broken up with you. Shin Ian said coldly. Su Kanyang's false eyes quickly became cruel, and he gritted his teeth and looked at us. Yang Sia, what qualifications do you have to blame me? You didn't fall in love with Shin Ian. What must have happened when you went to Beijing? Haha, I didn't expect you to pretend to be pure in front of me, but rush in front of other men. Shin Ian just looked at him coldly, and then pinched his wrist with one hand. Su Kanyang is not as tall as him, and he can't beat him at all. He can only shout wow. Keep your mouth clean, Shin Ian warned sternly. Maybe the noise on our side was too loud, and the security guard rushed over. Is there someone fighting? This matter was originally picked up by Su Kanyang. He lowered his head guiltily, but Lee Siren stood up and pointed to Shin Ian and said, Security guard, he hit my boyfriend. Obviously, it's you who provoke first. That's it. Sure enough, it's a dog man and woman, shameless, and a rake back. Lee Siren's words aroused everyone's anger. But the final result was that all 4 of us were brought back to school and came to the moral education department. After learning about the incident, the director of the moral education department and the head teacher looked at Su Kanyang and Lee Siren speechlessly. The head teacher patted the table with a cold face. The college entrance examination is coming soon. You actually, unexpectedly, call the parents. Lee Siren didn't take it seriously. Sir, my parents are in the cemetery. You can only go. They can't come. The director of the moral education department was also furious. It's the first time I've met a student like you in 20 years in school. Let's forget about falling in love, but also make your belly bigger. I'm really cold for your parents. Shin Ian asked, Teacher, can Yang Sia and I go home? Now the 2 of us are the treasures of the school. The director of the moral education department immediately changed his smile and looked at us with a smile. Be careful on your way home. It was already 7 o'clock when I left school, and I was a little hungry. Shin Ian said let's go to dinner together, and I agreed. Shin Ian, I'm single now, I said to him seriously. Then would you like to be my girlfriend? Shin Ian stopped, looked at me seriously, and asked in a low voice. I couldn't help smiling. I'm willing. How can I not? Is it just one sentence? I joked. At this time, Shin Ian took out a necklace from her bag. Yang Sia, would you like to be my girlfriend? I promise to love you forever and not let you sad or disappointed. I do. 10. The next day, neither Su Kanyang nor Lee Siren came to school. I heard that they were expelled, which meant that there was a stain on their life file, and their academic qualifications were always on junior high school students. Shin Ian and I are very low-key and didn't tell anyone. After all, the time for the college entrance examination is getting closer and closer. We will review and work hard together every day. Qingbei is a place where talents gather. Even if it is guaranteed, it dares not be flattened. Soon it was already June and the classmates also organized dinner. I took Shin Ian with me and walked into the restaurant. Everyone gossiped. When did you 2 get together? Someone asked curiously. I generously admitted. After breaking up with Su Kanyang. Shiyu, I have long thought that you and Shin Ian are a good match. Fortunately, you have seen Su Kanyang's heart clearly. A female classmate in the class said. Another classmate asked, Yay the way. Do you have any news from Su Kanyang? The students shook their heads one after another. The classmate said, after Su Kanyang was expelled from school, he was kicked out of his house by his parents and had to live in Lee Siren's house. Lee Siren likes Su Kanyang, but she has a little money at home. But how can she like Su Kanyang, who is poor? The 2 quarreled in various ways. After all, Lee Siren is a girl. How can she beat Su Kanyang? Moreover, Su Kanyang also took a lot of intimate photos of Lee Siren to threaten her. Speaking of this, the students were so surprised that their eyes widened, and then they discussed it. I laughed without saying anything. In the last life, Su Kanyang's torture to me was used on Lee Siren in this life. And Su Kanyang also forcibly took Lee Siren to the black clinic for abortion, resulting in Lee Siren's inability to get pregnant for the rest of her life. But the 2 of them have junior high school degrees, and the jobs they can find are both plating or washing dishes. Unexpectedly, Su Kanyang threatened Lee Siren to work in a nightclub, who the salary there is high. I listened silently and felt mixed. I finally got rid of this kind of life. Sia, are you not feeling well? Shin Ian asked nervously. I held his hand tightly and smiled happily. It's good that you've always been here. I had a dream a few days ago. I dreamed that you were tortured by Su Kanyang and finally cut your wrist and cut yourself. At that time, I was woken up. When I woke up, I was really scared. Fortunately, you broke up with him. Fortunately, you were fine. In fact, I really want to tell him that this is not a dream. This is my experience in my last life. Guess what happened later? The classmate deliberately sold it and asked with a smile. The students said one after another, "Oh, how can we guess? You say it quickly." I joked. It's impossible for Lee Siren to cut his wrist and cut himself, right? The classmate was stunned and clapped his hands and said, "Sia, you are a real god. You guessed very accurately. I heard that Lee Siren couldn't stand the torture and cut his wrist and cut himself. When the police went, the blood was dry. It's so pitiful. And Su Kanyang actually took all kinds of intimate photos and videos of Lee Siren to sell money. Finally, he was caught and is now eating in prison." When he heard this, Shin Ian subconsciously held my hand. After all, Su Kanyang was my boyfriend, and he was afraid that I would be sad. But I want to say that he really thinks too much. It's too late for me to be happy. How can I be sad? The students were worthless one after another. There is a great future, but it was ruined by itself. I pretended to sigh. That's so miserable.